Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Ramos from at my live long shots. I'm busting at the seams because Horse Racing Nation has let loose their contenders with possible races for Championship Day at Keeneland Park for the Breeders' Cup. And one race that stood out that looks like it has a ton of value is going to Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. Now, this the who's who in the Turf Mile races, starting with Bose Echo, Perceived Postcard, Notable Speech, Rhetorical, Formidable Man, Test Score, Rayef, True Love, Laganos, One Stripe, The Horse from Japan, Sixpence, and that just says that's about 10 horses. And I live two live lounge shots in the race, and two live lounge shots I like came out of the same race during Pegasus Mile Invitational where they ran 1-2, and that's going to be Test Score and One Stripe. These horses are trained by Grand Motion. And I know it's early, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just putting this out just in case they do both run. These horses are going to get above 15 to 20 to 1. Both horses I do like, and definitely like if I had to choose one or the other, would be One Stripe. Now, if you go back to the Wayback Machine during Pegasus Cup Day at Gulfstream Park, One Stripe came second, beaten by less than a length to Test Score, and he had the outside course. He was six wide for whatever reason. Why the jockey put him out six wide is unbeknownst to me, but he was closing resolutely. If he stays any ground, he beats Test Score. But remember one thing: it didn't hurt Grand Motion's feelings because he had both one and two in the race. I like these horses to upset the apple cart with horses like Notable Speech, Formidable Man, Sixpence if he comes from Japan, True Love. These are extraordinarily good European horses. Since both these horses, I believe these two long shot plays will hit the board. Both, like I said, between 15 and 25 to 1. And I had to use one or the other. I'll use both in a semi spread, but definitely like One Stripe as my number one pick over Test Score. Another horse that you have to put in there is Rhetorical. He is a horse, of course, that likes Keeneland Park, and he will be dangerous. Now, will his speed take him over the mile against these European monsters? Probably not. He's probably going to have to stop a little bit. But you have to make a stand and try to take prices, ladies and gentlemen. The Breeders' Cup offers that ability to win really good money because these horses are the best of the best, and they're not running against a contender or two contenders. The whole field is all contenders. That's why it's the Breeders' Cup. And I'm leaning at One Stripe and Test Score for the Breeders' Cup Mile. On to another launch that I like, and this would be the Breeders' Cup Mile. And two horses that look like they might run in this race. Now he's pre-entered in two races. Will be Nisos. Now Nisos is heading to the Pacific Classic after Bob Baffert didn't want to go to the Whitney, and he's choosing an easier pass. As I always say, the pass with less resistance. And if he ran into the Whitney Stakes, he would have to run against Magnitude and Soundringham. Why would he do that when he knows he has to save his best for last at the championship day during the Breeders' Cup in Keeneland Park? So he's going to go run journalism. In my firm opinion, ISOs, even at a mile and quarter, is better than journalism at this time. As I mentioned in the last video, journalism in San Diego handicap beat nothing in a race or anything. So in the Breeders' Cup Mile, if you Oswald to the mile, he's about 2 to 5, 1 to 5, even against horses like Crude Velocity that is a top three roll, and he's better at the mile to 7/8 of a mile. He's not that fast to run the 6 furlong sprint race, so Crude Velocity would be the second choice as a 3-0 with another Bob Baffert horse. But Nisos is more user friendly. He can stay on the pace or he can come off the pace. Just he's that good right now. The question always with Nisos is if he can stay healthy for the next 3.5 months. Long shot, long shot. My play, if he does stay healthy, will be Stronghold. We'll see how he does in the Bing Crosby. He was slated to go in the San Diego handicap at a mile 1/16. He's a tweener horse. He doesn't want to go a mile 1/8 or a mile 1/4. He's better suited for mile 1/16 all the way to 7/8 of a mile. Now the horse you got to look back in the Wayback Machine is that he shows a ton of ability going back to December 26, opening day in Santa Anita, where he came in a great second to Raging Torrent, who was raging at that time. During that campaign, Raging Torrent won 4 races. He won the Mile of the Year next year, which would be 2025, and he also won out in the Middle East. So he put in like a string of 3 over 100 speed figures. No shame on Stronghold against running second to Raging Torrent. Now at a mile, he fits better at this race because to me, if Crude Velocity and Nisos, both trained by the same trainer, Bob Baffer, as I mentioned, are they going to set that pace and burn themselves out? Probably not, but I do like Stronghold to make a good resolute turn at a mile. I think at a mile fits him perfectly like a glove. He won the triple bend, which is normally 7/8 of a race. It's only a furlong more, and Stronghold me the long shot. I know that people says, "Are you crazy not going against Nisos?" Well, I'm not sure Nisos is going to the classic or he's going to play for the mile. If he does, I still like Stronghold for a mile upset. I'm looking at Stronghold going up between 7-9 to 1 that race, and I'm just giving the odds more per bang for my buck. Do you want to spread? No, you don't want to pay. You don't want to spread, especially if you got chalk coming around on your horizontal bets and just killing your pick fours or pick fives because it's going to be chalk all day, which is not. As we know, every year there's at least 2 to 3 big long shots that are going to upset the apple cart doing the 2-year program. So right now, my live long shot Stronghold in the Breeders' Cup Mile, in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Now that's going to be for the boys. It says watch out for test score and one stripe, 1-2 in that race. Other race to mention, the Breeders' Cup Distaff with the Great Nitrogen, Splendora. Other horses in consideration will be Always a Runner, Counting Stars. Now both these fillies, Counting Star and Always a Runner, are credible horses. But I'm not looking anything for a big upset. It's look like a 1-2, and that's all I want to use is going to be Splendora. She ran against nothing in the Molly Pitcher. It came out to be a wet track. She had it all in her own way. So that's always, to me, is a big caution flag. That speed against inferior company on a sealed track, going around by herself, and she could be beaten. And if you're going to have to just bullet one horse and Nitrogen's going to be odds on. I'm looking at Nitrogen between 8-5 and 7-5. Splendora's around 5-2, 2-1, and she could audible to the Breeders' Cup Philly and Mare Sprint, where she won last year. But that race got chopped up because I lost 2 important horses in that race, and that was Copion and Sweet Azteca. Sweet Azteca slated to run in the Breeders' Cup Philly after winning the Great Lady M at Los Alamitos. Los Alamitos is a big throwout for me. It's a great quarter horse track. I've been there thousands of times, but it's a quarter horse track. Sweet Azteca mysteriously was withdrawn last year. Are they looking for redemption? I say yes, but I want Bina Keeneland and Being Sweet Azteca running against inferior company at Los Alamitos. I want value for this horse, and she has bullet speed. Can she maintain? But Sweet Azteca is a big question mark and maybe an X factor this year. She stays healthy for the next 3 months. Of course, that's a big if. I'm telling you what I like right now. What the entries that the Horse Racing Nation has brought on to me today, and I just like to thank Horse Racing Nation for the allowed to use this information, give you my early picks. Now everything could change, of course, 3 months. I don't want to get everybody, too excited about it. But this, if they were running next week or 2 weeks from now, these are horses you got to write down and make sure you play these horses. Now, I'll give you for instance, like a couple of years ago, Sullivan Angel, when she won the Princess Rooney at Gulfstream Park, I was high on her, and I gave that horse at least a month in advance. That was my long shot play of the day. She won, paying $42. I've always been on a bandwagon guy with Forever Young, but that was my 6 month early after when he lost in the Dubai Cup 2 hit show, and still maintained. I still won money on that horse coming that fall. So my early looks right now is going to be One Stripe and Test Score and the Breeders' Cup Mile. I definitely like Stronghold and the Breeders' Cup Mile Flat. And for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and hate to say it, Nitrogen if you have the bullet, but be a skinny ticket on that because I don't like to like bullet chalk. I like the bullet prices, or at least semi-contenders, at least to get something worth for my dollars. So that's the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. If these horses stay healthy, they look like they're going to be. That's going to be one heck of a race. It normally is, but that might be one of the races that might catch people off guard. How much value would be in that race? The Breeders' Cup Philly and Mare Turf race. None running a mile and quarter. Depends on the circumference of the track. It might change. Sometimes they run a mile and 3/8 right now. And that was a horse that I liked during Pegasus Day, and that was Whiskey Decision. He found himself. She found herself. Excuse me. She found herself in trouble in the Breeders' Cup. Excuse me, in Pegasus turf race for Fillies and Mares. She was one of my choices. Had the 7 post, got shut out a little bit, came out wide, made a belated run, came in fourth. Now she's been losing to lesser company, but it's a Chad Brown horse, and I don't know who's going to ride Whiskey Decision. It's going to be a double odds horse that I got to use. Will I build with him? If I want a skinny ticket and try to magnify my bet, I would. So then trying to say $1 pick four, maybe a $5 pick three, or a $2 pick four, play it multiple times, see how the bankroll is, see how I'm doing that day. Whiskey Decision is a live long shot. If she runs that day with the Chad Brown horse now, with Chad Brown having a lot of horses, Chris Anne Marie's really found form, but remember, it's still in the summer, and she's finding form at Saratoga Park. Horses with courses, horses in seasons, so on and so on. So we don't know how sharp she is going to go into Keeneland, different track and different, especially coming in the fall season. But the horse I really like is Whiskey Decision, another Chad Brown horse. I don't see Jazora making it. She's looked absolutely horrible since she came back from the layoff. I personally think she's out. Henry Gaffard might think maybe stay in Europe, or maybe next year and start a different campaign. So Whiskey Decision in the Filly and Mare turf race. It looks like a live long shot, at least double digits, 15 to 20 to 1. You don't want to ask less than that. You know, if she's peaking enough for, that's one thing. But the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare turf is semi-loaded. I'm looking at my notes right now. I still pen and paper on it. I'm so old-fashioned that way. So we have horses like Christiana Marie in there. Diamond Necklace is supposed to be coming in embroidery. And that's only to name a few, but that's what I have from Horse Racing Nation. Whiskey Decision is the play. Now for the sprint on the turf, have to take one of the old pros that's been there before, AJ Bullock. He used Japier normally as the one of his key preps before the Breeders' Cup day races. He has a lot of tremendous speed. So AJ Bullock right now, of course, I don't have other contenders in the race, but that one you have to take for consideration. Filly Mare Sprint, Splendora. As I said, I like Queen Azteca for a price. Splendora didn't run against anything in the Molly picture. She's going to be way over bet, undervalued, and that's how I see it. It's hard to repeat Breeders' Cup races. You could win one year, but I don't care how good you are in form or what happens. Normally horses do not repeat because it's such a tough race. And remember, going from Dalmore to Keeneland, we haven't had the Breeders' Cup in Keeneland since 2021. And you got to remember just to make sure you put your best money where your best bet is. If you ask me truthfully where the value is, it's going to be in the Breeders' Cup, that Breeders' Cup turf mile. It looks like an impeccable value. I'll probably use more of my bankroll for that race. Of course, the Classic always runs, and it depends what it pans out in the Whitney. I did the video here. As I stated, the status quo between Sovereignty and Manitou. Manitou doesn't need this race. Sovereignty's the horse outside looking in now. Sovereignty now needs this race to qualify for the Breeders' Cup, because Godolphin has the money, but they want the win to get that supplement in. And also, as I mentioned, the breeding rights to keep it up around the 200,000 mark. People say, well, is that guaranteed since his 3-year-old campaign? True, but it's just like the stock market. His market value for breeding rights is going to drop down if it's not performance. You heard about this before. I know other people in that like horse racing already made videos about how much money is invested into breeding now more than the race itself. And it's been like this. But unfortunately, this is something that we have to take with John Gaines's idea that created the Breeders' Cup way back in '84. This was the reason to up the purchase of the fillies, of the colts. Any horse that performs well in the Breeders' Cup, their main reason is, of course, the Breeders' Cup. So when they send them out to stud, they're supposed to get more market value for their share for winning these prestigious races. So it's something you have to take with a grain of salt. The Breeders' Cup is to me, the best day in horse racing. It supersedes the Kentucky Derby. for all the top horses. You get 14 great races. You got the Derby, and normally accumulates just one race. I mean, in Churchill Down, there's a lot of good races, but Breeders' Cup. This was the idea, John Gaines, is to promote breeding and to make money for the owners when they have their horses been bred in a breeding shed. 200K, 300K. They even made it makes sense to them to make more money in a breeding shed than it is in a track. That's why horses they don't run 10, 12 races in a year anymore. And, it's sad, but it's true. Where we go from here, I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes, because we're having less foals being born in Kentucky or around the breeding areas. There was hardly see any of the big stables anymore. They're all gone, like Paul Mellon, the Rugby stables, Bedouin stables, Suma stables, Silver Fox, so all the great stables. Mrs. Francis Gentry that had Unbridled, and James Taffel that was that had the Street Sense, and all the great horse owners, Harbor Butte Farm, Saroon stables. All these great stables are no longer here, and to promote racing, we have to make a stance that we're going to start breeding more foals. We bring more foals, better racing for them across the United States. And I was reading an article earlier. It was through the Blood Horse, stating that that Hawthorne Park now is going to be officially closed, and people take one side of the fence or the other one. Horse racing fans do not destroy horse racing industries. That's why they're fans. They're diehards. They show up every day. They care. They give a damn, because whatever money they'll come play the track. They're really good. They are true people that love horse race, like myself, my father, and people I know growing up. They will go to track regardless of what the track conditions are, because they're loyalists. And the thing of it is, the fans is the blood source of this great sport, and we have to recruit more fans. The only thing I would knock is promotion wise, when back the 80s and late 70s, they weren't promoting the new breed of fans supposed to be coming in. Now I'm not going to say this is an easy sport to know. You have to put your homework in. You have to hours of studying, handicapping, the DRF, with base, whatever you want, Bresnet figures, however you want to get it, the daily, the racing form, the racing book, the tip sheets, the coverage of horse racing, comments like when growing up, I had the Star News, the Green Sheet, Herald Examiner, and you have to take, something here in the heart that says I want to handicap horses, but it's a long road to handicapping and try to be a professional handicapper horse racing and be very good at it. I've been doing it for close to 50 years, and I'm still learning every day. And I take notation, and it's still old fashioned. I take notation and pen and paper and write down horse I like, horse I don't like, the reason I don't like them. And I don't think the younger generation really have the patience for that. They need those dopamine hits really quick. That's why slot machines are so popular. You don't have to handicap a slot. You just push those numbers. 21, all you have to do is know how to count 21. You stay at 12. If the dealer looks like he's going to go over, 21, it's not as engrossed. It's time tasking to learn how to read the racing form, Brisnet, handicapping day and night and day. I mean, you have to spend your hours and soul into this. And I'm sorry to go on a banter on this, but it just, I read the article, I believe it was yesterday, and I think maybe that's why I want to do a video. Besides my Breeders' Cup picks and what I like right now, early to now, is just to give you my sense of who I am and what I believe in. And that's all I have for you today. I'm sorry to make this, my apology if this was a long video. I didn't mean to be that long, but I'll probably do some more Breeders' Cup information, tips, and horse I like going in further into the time, because we're in late July going into November, and people say, well, it's still 3 months, but believe it or not, 3 months goes away in a day and a half, it seems like now these days. So that's all I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Ramos from At the Quarter Pole, where winning in history run neck and neck. Have a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
My goodness. They're going to think you're really lonely.